Have you ever poured your heart, time, and energy into someone, only to realize that your kindness was taken for granted? Have you ever tried to uplift someone, only to watch them remain unchanged, trapped in the same self-destructive patterns? The truth is, not everyone is ready to be helped. Some people do not seek growth. Some will take advantage of your generosity without ever making an effort to change. Buddhism teaches that compassion is one of the highest virtues, but true compassion is not blind. It is guided by wisdom. Helping others is a noble act, but if done without discernment, it can lead to suffering, not only for you, but for the person you are trying to assist. The Buddha emphasized mindful giving, urging his followers to recognize the difference between genuine support and enabling harmful behaviors. There is a profound difference between offering a helping hand and allowing yourself to be drained by those who have no real intention of changing. In one of the revered Buddhist teachings, it is said that wisdom is recognizing that the world is an illusion and not acting as if it is real. This profound lesson reminds us that while kindness is essential, it must be rooted in wisdom. True compassion is not about sacrificing yourself endlessly. It is about knowing when your efforts are meaningful and when they are wasted. Helping the wrong people does not only exhaust you, it also hinders their own growth by reinforcing unhealthy patterns. Many people, especially those with kind hearts, struggle with guilt when it comes to setting boundaries. We are often taught that being good means always saying yes, that kindness means never turning away from those in need. But what if constantly helping without discernment is actually holding you back on your spiritual journey? Even the Buddha himself set boundaries. He understood the importance of protecting one's peace, preserving one's energy, and not casting wisdom where it would not be received. He advised his followers to be mindful of the company they keep and to recognize when their teachings would fall on deaf ears. There is an ancient Buddhist parable that warns against planting seeds in barren soil. If wisdom is shared with those who do not appreciate it, it does not grow. Similarly, if you give your time, energy, and effort to those who do not value it, it is like pouring water into a broken vessel. No matter how much you pour, it will never be enough. But why do so many of us struggle to say no? Why do we feel obligated to help, even when we see it as harming us? Perhaps it is the fear of appearing unkind, or maybe it is the lingering hope that our efforts will eventually make a difference. However, Buddhism teaches that true wisdom is knowing when to step forward and when to step back. Some people are not looking for help. They are looking for someone to carry their burdens while they continue down the same path of stagnation. They do not seek transformation. They seek comfort in their self-imposed limitations. Even the Buddha, who embodied boundless compassion, did not force his teachings on those who were unwilling to listen. He understood that forcing wisdom upon the unwilling was futile. If the greatest teacher to ever walk this earth recognized the importance of boundaries, why shouldn't we? In this lesson, we will explore the 7 types of people whom you should never help, according to Buddhist principles. These insights are not based on personal opinions, but on timeless wisdom. Understanding these teachings will transform the way you give, serve, and protect your peace. By practicing mindful compassion, you will learn to extend kindness without sacrificing yourself, and you will recognize when your help is truly making a difference. One of the first types of people you should never help is the lazy and idle. Listen closely. There is a profound difference between offering help to those who are genuinely struggling and enabling those who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. It is a delicate balance, one that requires wisdom, not just compassion. Buddhism teaches that laziness is not just a minor weakness. It is a deeply ingrained habit, a form of self-sabotage that leads to suffering. The Buddha never encouraged blind generosity without discernment. Instead, he taught that true compassion must be guided by wisdom. He stated that a person who does not strive, who is given to idle talk and weak in will never find the path to enlightenment. This teaching reminds us that suffering is often not an external punishment, but the natural consequence of neglecting one's own growth. There is a sacred principle in Buddhism known as right effort, one of the essential steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. Right effort means taking responsibility for one's own spiritual and personal development. It means striving for improvement, even in the face of difficulty. Those who refuse to cultivate their own lives. When we continuously rescue those who are lazy, we interfere with the natural law of cause and effect. Many people mistake enabling for compassion, but understand this. When you financially support someone who refuses to put in effort, you do not bless them. You weaken them. When you constantly bail someone out of trouble, you rob them of the lesson that could lead to their awakening. When you excuse and cover for someone's lack of effort, you prevent them from experiencing the natural consequences of their choices. The Buddha once told a parable of a foolish farmer who refused to till his land. He believed that food would grow on its own, without effort. When famine came, instead of reflecting on his own neglect, he blamed the gods for his suffering. This story is a powerful reminder. Those who refuse to cultivate their own lives will eventually lose even what they have. Compassion is not about carrying someone else's burdens indefinitely. It is about offering guidance while allowing them to take responsibility. If you are constantly sacrificing your own well-being to sustain someone who refuses to change, you are not acting in alignment with Buddhist wisdom. You are disrupting their growth. It is important to distinguish between those who are facing temporary hardship and those who have made laziness their way of life. The Buddha warned, "Do not associate with the idle, for their path leads to ruin." But how do you recognize such individuals? They always have excuses. They constantly explain why they cannot improve their situation, yet they always find time for distractions. They expect others to provide for them, relying on family, friends, or society while making little to no effort to contribute. They ignore opportunities, finding reasons to avoid taking action. They waste resources, whether it is time, money, or talents. They squander what they have instead of using it wisely. And they only seek help in moments of crisis. Instead of taking preventative steps, they wait until disaster strikes, ask for assistance, and then repeat the same cycle. If you recognize these patterns in someone you are helping, take a step back and reflect. Are you truly aiding their growth, or are you shielding them from the lessons they need to learn? Setting boundaries is not unkind. Even the Buddha did not chase after those who refused his teachings. He understood that wisdom should not be forced upon the unwilling. He allowed people to experience the results of their own actions, knowing that sometimes suffering is the only teacher strong enough to spark change. If you have been enabling someone who refuses to take responsibility, it is time to stop. Not out of resentment, but out of love and wisdom. And if you recognize that you yourself have been lazy, it is time to awaken. The good news is that transformation is always possible. There is a teaching that says, "The fool who knows he is a fool is wise in that knowing, but the fool who believes he is wise is truly lost." Self-awareness is the first step toward wisdom. If you acknowledge your own complacency and make the effort to change, you can step onto the path of growth and enlightenment. Letting go is not cruelty, it is wisdom, because you cannot force someone to grow, but you can choose to protect your own peace, to use your energy where it will truly make a difference, and to walk the path of wisdom with clarity and strength. There comes a time when you must ask yourself, are you truly helping, or are you simply delaying someone's growth? Buddhism teaches that compassion without wisdom is like giving a drowning man a rock instead of a rope. True compassion uplifts, but misguided compassion enables. One of the greatest lessons in life is understanding that not everyone deserves your help, not because they are unworthy as human beings, but because they refuse to change. The second type of person you should never help is the one who deceives. These individuals do not seek guidance. They do not desire truth. They use manipulation, dishonesty, and deceit to gain what they want, while never intending to change their ways. They do not value the help they receive. They see kindness as weakness and generosity as an opportunity to take advantage of others. The Buddha spoke of the importance of sincerity. He taught that honesty is not just about speaking the truth, it is about living truthfully. A person who deceives others is often first deceiving themselves. They refuse to take responsibility for their actions, choosing instead to create illusions, excuses, and false narratives. Such people do not seek help for the purpose of transformation. They seek help to maintain their lies. Imagine a man who constantly borrows money, promising to pay it back, but never intending to do so. He always has a convincing story, always a reason why he needs assistance, yet the cycle never ends. Each time you help, you believe you are doing something good, but in reality, you are feeding a habit of deceit, Your kindness does not lead him toward responsibility. It enables his dishonesty to continue. Why do so many people fall into the trap of helping those who deceive? Perhaps it is because we want to believe in the goodness of others. We convince ourselves that they will change, that if we just give them one more chance, they will finally take the right path. But Buddhism teaches that wisdom is not blind. A compassionate heart must also be a discerning one. There is a reason the Buddha warned against associating with the deceitful. He understood that deception is not just about lies, it is about energy. When you surround yourself with those who are dishonest, their energy seeps into your life. Their falsehoods create unnecessary drama, their manipulation drains your spirit, and their actions pull you away from the path of clarity and peace. If you have ever helped someone who deceives, you may have noticed a pattern. They always make themselves the victim, spinning stories to gain sympathy. They refuse accountability, shifting blame onto others. They manipulate emotions, using guilt to extract favors. They make promises they never keep, yet always expect to be believed. And they repeat their actions, showing no real effort to change. It is important to recognize these signs early. The longer you remain entangled with a deceitful person, the harder it becomes to detach. You may tell yourself that you are helping them, that your kindness will eventually lead them toward honesty. But ask yourself, has it ever worked? Have they ever truly changed because of your assistance? Or have they only found more ways to take advantage of your generosity? Buddhism teaches that letting go of the deceitful is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of self-preservation. When you withdraw your help from someone who refuses to be truthful, you are not punishing them. You are allowing them to face the consequences of their own actions. Only when they experience the weight of their choices without a safety net will they have a chance to truly change. Some people believe that cutting off a deceitful person means losing faith in humanity. But the Buddha never said to close your heart to kindness. He only warned to be wise in where you place it. Helping someone who does not value honesty does not make you compassionate. It makes you a participant in their deception. True kindness is offering guidance to those who genuinely seek it, not to those who only seek to exploit it. The practice of non-attachment is crucial when dealing with deceitful people. Many struggle to let go, believing they can somehow fix the person, that if they just explain things clearly enough, the deceitful individual will see the error of their ways. But the Buddha taught that people can only awaken when they are ready. You cannot force someone to be honest. You cannot teach truth to someone who is committed to lies. Think of a tree that bears fruit. If you nurture it with care, water it, and give it sunlight, it will grow strong and provide nourishment. But if you try to nourish a dead tree, if you pour water onto lifeless roots, nothing will grow. You can spend years tending to something that will never bear fruit, and in doing so, you neglect the trees that truly need your care. This is how energy works. When you invest your kindness in those who deceive, you waste precious energy that could be used to help those who are truly in need. Every moment spent trying to change someone who refuses to be honest is a moment taken away from someone who is genuinely seeking guidance. But how do you let go of someone who has deceived you? How do you stop helping when you have already given so much? The answer is not in anger or resentment. It is in clarity. It is in recognizing that your worth is not tied to how much you give, but to how wisely you give. You are not failing them by walking away. You are simply refusing to participate in their illusions any longer. The Buddha once said that those who are lost in deception are like blind men in the darkness. They do not see the truth, nor do they seek it. But if a blind man refuses to open his eyes, no amount of light will help him see. In the same way, if a deceitful person refuses to embrace truth, no amount of guidance will change them. There is freedom in recognizing this. You do not have to carry the weight of other people's dishonesty. You do not have to exhaust yourself trying to help someone who does not want to be helped. You do not have to be a savior to those who are unwilling to save themselves. Instead, direct your energy toward those who are ready. Offer your kindness to those who appreciate it, your wisdom to those who seek it, your support to those who are willing to take responsibility for their lives. This is the path of mindful compassion, giving where it will truly make a difference, not where it will be wasted. Letting go is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of wisdom. It is choosing peace over exhaustion. It is choosing clarity over illusion. It is choosing to walk the path of truth, even when others choose deception. And when you do this, you do not only protect yourself, you create space for true kindness, true wisdom, and true transformation to take root where it is meant to grow. There is a moment in life when you realize that the world does not wait for you to find your purpose. It moves endlessly with or without your certainty. The sun rises whether you feel prepared for the day or not. The seasons shift whether you are ready for change or still clinging to what once was. Time flows, indifferent to hesitation, leaving behind those who do not have the courage to move with it. And so, you must ask yourself, how much longer will you wait? How many more days will slip through your fingers while you hesitate, while you explain, while you justify to a world that is too consumed with its own chaos to truly listen? The strongest people are not those who waited for permission. They are not those who sought endless approval before taking the first step. They are those who decided that they would no longer stand in the shadows of their own potential. They are those who understood that the world will never fully understand them, and that is exactly why they must move forward anyway. The river does not ask the mountain if it may pass. It carves through, relentless, knowing that its very nature is to flow, to continue, to become. You are no different, but most people hesitate. They hold themselves back, fearing the weight of judgment, fearing that if they move forward without explanation, they will be misunderstood, and they will be. But what they do not realize is that they will be misunderstood anyway. Whether they act or whether they stay still, the world will form its own opinions. So why not move? Why not rise? Why not step into your own power without apology? The fear of being misunderstood is an illusion, a prison created by the mind to keep you small. It tells you that if you explain enough, if you justify enough, if you mold yourself into something more acceptable, then finally you will be free. But true freedom has never come from acceptance. It has come from not needing it. Look at the great ones who walked this earth before you. Did they pause to explain themselves at every turn? Did they beg the world to understand their journey? They walked forward, unshaken by the noise, knowing that their purpose was not up for debate. The mystics, the visionaries, the warriors of spirit and mind, they did not waste energy convincing others of their worth. They became so undeniably aligned with their truth that the world had no choice but to recognize it. But this requires something few are willing to embrace: solitude. The path of those who no longer explain themselves is often a lonely one at first, because the moment you stop seeking validation, you will see how much of your world was built upon it. You will see how many conversations were empty, how many relationships were bound by the fragile thread of needing to be understood. And when you no longer require this, when you step into the fullness of yourself without explanation, many will fall away. Let them. A temple does not chase those who are not ready to enter. The ocean does not call back those who are too afraid to swim, and you do not need to hold on to those who cannot walk beside you. The truth is, the right ones will never require an explanation. They will feel your energy, your presence, your power, and they will know. Words are for those who are disconnected. Silence, presence, and action. These are the languages of those who truly see. But make no mistake, this is not about arrogance. This is not about refusing to share wisdom or isolating yourself in the name of self-importance. It is about understanding where your energy is best spent. It is about recognizing that some will only understand through experience, not explanation. It is about choosing to walk forward without the weight of needing to be accepted. Think of the lion. It does not explain its roar. It does not ask permission to exist in its full strength. It does not lower its head to make others comfortable. It simply is. And in its being, it commands respect, not because it asks for it, but because it embodies it. This is the lesson. The more you stand firm in your truth, the less you will need to say. The more you embody your purpose, the fewer words will be required. But the world will try to pull you back. It will tempt you with old patterns, with the comfort of seeking approval, with the habit of explaining yourself to those who do not hear you. Do not fall for it. Every moment spent justifying yourself is a moment stolen from your purpose. Every time you pause to explain to those who do not want to understand, you delay your own becoming. So let them misunderstand you. Let them question. Let them talk. It is not your responsibility to make them see what they are not yet ready to see. Your responsibility is to walk forward. Your responsibility is to rise. Your responsibility is to step into your power with the unwavering knowing that those who are meant to understand will. Not because you explained yourself, but because you became undeniable. And that is the only explanation that has ever truly mattered. There comes a time when you must ask yourself, who are you living for? Whose approval have you been chasing? How many moments of your life have been wasted in the endless effort of making others understand you? Look closely at the weight you have been carrying, the countless explanations, the justifications, the attempts to make everyone around you see what is already clear within you. And then ask yourself, is it worth it? Most people spend their entire lives in chains they cannot see. Chains made of opinions, of expectations, of the unspoken rules that dictate how they should live, how they should speak, how they should exist. They measure their worth by the reactions of others, by the fleeting acceptance of those who themselves are lost. They stand at the edge of their own greatness, waiting for permission to step forward. But the truth is, no one will give you permission to be yourself. You must take it. There is no audience you need to please, no judge you need to convince, no external force that holds the key to your freedom. The only prison has been the belief that you must be understood before you can move forward. And the moment you realize this, the walls crumble, the weight vanishes, and in its place, something greater emerges, unshakable knowing. Knowing that you are enough, knowing that your truth does not need validation, knowing that your path does not require an explanation. But the world does not teach this. The world teaches you to seek approval. From childhood, you are trained to look outward for direction, to ask before you act, to make sure your choices align with what is expected of you. You are rewarded for fitting in, for playing small, for keeping your voice soft and your presence unthreatening. And so you learn to dim yourself. You learn to explain yourself before anyone even asks. You learn to hesitate, to doubt, to question every step. But this is not living. This is existing in fear. The moment you stop explaining yourself, something extraordinary happens. You realize that the world does not crumble, that the people who truly matter never needed an explanation to begin with, that the ones who demand justification were never listening anyway. You see, people who truly understand you feel you. They do not need words. They do not need long explanations. They recognize you by the way you carry yourself, by the way your presence shifts the energy of a room, by the way your silence speaks louder than 1,000 conversations ever could. But those who do not understand, no explanation will ever be enough. No matter how clearly you speak, no matter how much effort you put into justifying your path, they will twist it, question it, reshape it to fit their own limited perception. And this is where most people remain stuck, trapped in the never-ending cycle of trying to be seen by those who have already chosen not to see them. So what if you stopped? What if you walked away from the need to be understood? What if you no longer paused to explain, to justify, to convince? What if you move forward not with arrogance, but with absolute certainty that your truth is not something that requires permission? Because the truth is, those who walk with power do not explain themselves. The mountain does not justify its height. The river does not apologize for its flow. The sun does not seek approval before it rises. They exist, they move, they shine, not because they are understood, but because it is their nature to do so. You too are meant to move like this. But you must be willing to let go. Let go of the old patterns, the old fears, the old need to be accepted by those who will never see you. Let go of the explanations, the justifications, the conversations that drain your energy but never bring clarity. Let go of the weight of seeking permission for what your soul already knows is right. And when you do, when you finally step into this space of complete certainty, watch what happens. Watch as the things you once chased begin to come to you. Watch as the right people recognize you without you having to explain yourself. Watch as the world begins to move around you, not because you begged for it, but because you finally aligned with the flow of who you were always meant to be. There is a reason the sages of the past spoke little. There is a reason the strongest leaders do not argue. There is a reason the wisest beings do not seek validation. They know something most people do not, that true power is not in how loudly you speak, but in how deeply you know. And once you reach this place, once you embody this truth, there is nothing left to say. You simply exist. You simply move. You simply become. And the world adjusts accordingly. The most powerful moment in your life is the one where you realize you no longer owe anyone an explanation. Not for who you are, not for what you choose, not for the dreams that burn within you, waiting to be brought to life. The day you understand this is the day you step into a freedom that few will ever know. The freedom of simply being. Look at the way the world moves. Everything flows effortlessly, without hesitation, without needing to be justified. The trees do not explain why they reach for the sky. The waves do not pause to clarify why they rise and fall with the tides. The stars do not hold meetings to seek approval before they shine. They exist in their fullness, in their brilliance, without apology. And yet, here you are, second-guessing, hesitating, waiting for someone else to tell you that it is okay to be yourself. But who are you waiting for? Who holds this power over you? Who have you unknowingly given control over your own life, believing that their understanding is required for your existence? Because the truth is, you have been your own captor all along. The chains were never real. The need to explain was never real. The idea that you must be accepted before you can move forward was never real. The wise do not waste their breath explaining themselves. They do not seek approval for paths that others were never meant to walk. They do not pause their journey to convince those who are too afraid to step into their own. They move, they embody, they become. And in doing so, they leave behind a world that was never designed to hold them back in the first place. Think of the people you admire, the ones who have achieved greatness, the ones who seem untouchable in their presence. Do they explain themselves? Do they lower their voices to make others comfortable? Do they ask for permission before stepping into their full power? They act, they create, they lead, and they do so without hesitation, without justification, without needing to be understood. But you have spent too long waiting. You have spent too many days holding back, trapped in the illusion that you must explain every choice, every feeling, every step. And for what? Has it brought you peace? Has it given you clarity? Or has it drained you, left you exhausted, filled you with frustration as you try to force people to understand something they were never meant to? Because here is the truth. Most people will never understand you. Not because you are wrong, not because you are lost, but because they are not meant to walk your path. They cannot see what you see. They cannot hear the calling that was placed within you and you alone. And that is not your burden to bear. So what if you let go? What if you stopped explaining? What if you stopped defending your choices? What if you stopped giving away your energy in conversations that lead nowhere? What if, instead of trying to convince the world of your worth, you simply lived it? Because the moment you do, everything changes. The weight disappears, the noise fades, the endless need for validation is replaced by something far greater. Inner knowing. You move differently when you stop explaining yourself. You carry yourself with a quiet certainty, an unshaken presence that speaks louder than words ever could. People feel it. They recognize it, even if they do not understand it. And those who are meant to walk beside you will not ask for an explanation. They will simply see. But the ones who doubt, the ones who demand justification, the ones who seek to keep you small, they will fall away. Let them. Release them. They were never meant to walk this path with you. They were lessons, not destinations. Their doubts were never yours to carry. A lion does not turn to answer the questions of sheep. A river does not stop flowing to explain its course. A flame does not ask permission to burn. And you were not meant to beg for understanding. You were meant to be. So let go. Move forward. Step into the life that has been waiting for you all along. The life that has no room for explanations, no space for hesitation, no time for convincing those who have already chosen not to see. Because in the end, the only permission you ever needed was your own. There is a sacred power in silence, a force stronger than any argument, deeper than any explanation. It is the language of those who have found themselves, those who no longer seek to be understood, those who have stepped beyond the illusions of validation and into the vastness of their own being. The world does not teach this. It teaches you to speak, to defend, to constantly justify your existence as if your worth is something to be negotiated. But those who walk the path of wisdom know better. They know that the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you release the need to be understood, you step into a power that cannot be touched by doubt, by judgment, by the limitations of others. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain crashes down, the sky rumbles with the weight of something greater than yourself. Most people would panic, running for shelter, seeking safety and explanations, in reasoning, in control. But the wise do not fear the storm. They stand still, knowing that no amount of resistance will change what is meant to be. They do not argue with the wind. They do not ask the rain to stop. They accept, they embrace, they allow, and in doing so, they remain untouched. This is the truth of life. You cannot force others to understand you. You cannot demand that they see what is not yet visible to them. You cannot waste your breath trying to explain your existence to those who are determined to misunderstand it. The only thing you can do, the only thing that has ever mattered, is to live so fully, so completely, so unapologetically in your truth that no explanation is needed. Look at your own life. How much of your energy has been spent in the endless cycle of justification? How many times have you tried to prove yourself to those who were never listening? How often have you hesitated, doubted, questioned your own path because someone else did not approve? And for what? Did it bring you peace? Did it bring you clarity? Or did it only exhaust you, leaving you feeling more disconnected, more lost, more uncertain than before? But what if you stopped? What if you allowed yourself to move forward without hesitation, without explanation, without seeking permission? What if you trusted yourself so deeply that the opinions of others became background noise, insignificant in the face of your own knowing? Because that is where freedom begins, not in being understood, but in not needing to be. The greatest leaders, the greatest minds, the greatest souls did not explain themselves to the world. They did not waste their time convincing others of their vision. They simply became, and in doing so, the world had no choice but to take notice. The river does not ask the earth for approval before it carves its path. The fire does not hesitate before it burns. The moon does not seek validation before it lights the night sky. They exist because they must, because it is in their nature to do so. And so must you. But be prepared. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the world will test you. People will demand answers. They will call you selfish, distant, arrogant. They will try to pull you back, to make you doubt, to force you into the smallness they are comfortable with. Let them. Their words hold no power unless you give them power. Their doubts cannot touch you unless you allow them in. The only thing that matters is whether you are willing to stand firm in the truth of who you are, whether you are willing to let go of the need to be understood, whether you are willing to walk your path with or without the approval of those who will never walk it with you. Think of the temple that stands on the mountaintop. It does not explain itself to those who never make the climb. It does not lower itself to be more accessible. It waits, steady, silent, knowing that those who are meant to find it will. Those who are willing to rise, those who are ready to understand, those who are prepared to receive its wisdom, they will come. And those who are not, they were never meant to. You must live your life the same way. Do not lower yourself for those who do not see you. Do not waste your breath trying to explain what is only meant to be felt. Do not shrink your being into something digestible for those who will never have the appetite for truth. Rise, stand, be, and let the world adjust accordingly. Because in the end, the only thing that has ever truly mattered is this. You were never meant to explain yourself. You were meant to become so undeniable that no explanation is needed. There is a moment in every journey when silence becomes more powerful than words. A moment when the explanations cease, when the justifications fall away, when the need for validation dissolves into nothingness. This is the moment when you realize that the ones who were meant to understand never needed an explanation, and the ones who demand one will never truly listen. The world has conditioned you to believe that you must constantly prove yourself, that your choices must be accepted, that your path must be acknowledged. But the wise know that the only acceptance that matters is the one you give to yourself. The only acknowledgement that holds weight is the one that comes from within. The only validation that carries power is the one you no longer need. Think of a tree standing alone on a mountaintop. It does not ask the sky for permission to grow. It does not question whether its roots are deep enough, whether its branches are strong enough, whether it is worthy of the space it occupies. It simply is. It stretches toward the heavens, unshaken by the winds, unmoved by the opinions of those who pass by. Some will admire it, others will ignore it. Some may even try to cut it down. But none of it changes the truth. The tree remains whole and complete, whether it is understood or not. This is the essence of true freedom. The freedom of knowing that your existence is not up for debate. The freedom of standing in your truth without explanation. The freedom of no longer asking for permission to be. But most people never reach this place. They live their lives in a constant state of explanation, trapped in the exhausting cycle of proving, defending, seeking approval from those who have no intention of giving it. They pour their energy into arguments that lead nowhere, into conversations that drain their spirit, into battles that were never meant to be fought. And in doing so, they give away their power. Look at your own life. How many times have you held yourself back, not because you were unsure, but because you were afraid of what others might think? How many dreams have been delayed, not because they were impossible, but because you were waiting for someone to tell you it was okay to pursue them? How much time have you spent justifying your existence to those who have already made up their minds about you? But what if you stopped? What if you walked forward without explanation? What if you let go of the need to be understood? Because the moment you do, everything changes. The weight lifts, the doubt fades, the noise disappears. You step into a space where you no longer seek acceptance because you have become acceptance itself. Where you no longer chase validation because you have become whole within your own knowing. Where you no longer need to explain yourself because your presence alone is the only explanation required. The greatest beings in history did not waste time defending themselves. They did not pause their purpose to argue with those who could not see their vision. They did not beg the world to understand them. They simply became. They moved in silence. They built without hesitation. They embodied their truth so fully that the world had no choice but to adjust. And this is the secret. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop seeking validation, when you walk forward in your truth with unwavering certainty, the world shifts around you. The people who doubted you begin to take notice. The ones who dismissed you begin to listen. The opportunities that once seemed distant begin to move toward you. Not because you demanded it, but because you no longer needed it. There is nothing louder than silence, nothing more powerful than presence, nothing more undeniable than a being who has fully stepped into themselves. The lion does not ask the jungle for permission to roar. The river does not apologize for carving its way through the land. The flame does not dim itself to make others comfortable, and neither should you. So release the explanations. Walk away from the conversations that drain you. Detach from the need to be understood. You were never meant to convince the world of your worth. You were meant to live it, to breathe it, to become so completely aligned with who you are that the world has no choice but to see it for itself. Let them misunderstand you. Let them question you. Let them form their own opinions. It is not your burden to correct them. It is not your responsibility to make them see. Your only task is to walk forward with or without their understanding. Because in the end, the ones who were meant to understand will see the truth without you ever having to say a word.